Election day is November 4th, and we're hoping that everybody, of course, comes out to vote. And by the people here, all these people probably will. But I heard an interesting story on WNYC this morning, and they're doing an experiment where they're going door to door in one neighborhood for people who are registered to vote but don't vote any longer, haven't voted for the last 4 years. And they've found that if they ask people to make a plan to vote, like if you go to somebody and say, are you going to vote Tuesday? And they'll say yes. But if you literally say, how are you going to do that? What time are you going to do that? How are you going to get there? That people tend to vote more if they have that plan. So I'm asking everyone in the audience and everyone listening at home to please make a plan with a friend, make a plan with a neighbor, and let's get people out to vote on November 4th. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, Mary Lee Schmidt, and she's going to explain the format of this evening. Oh, and I forgot one thing. If you have questions, we have index cards, and there will be 2 people collecting those, and then they will be given to the moderator to be given to the candidates. We ask that there be no negative comments, but you are allowed to direct it to one candidate or another if you so choose. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Mary Lee Schmidt. I'm the League of Women Voters of Somerset Hills, and I welcome you to tonight's forum. Introducing the candidates, we have Victor DeLuca, a Democrat, the incumbent mayor; Kurt Kiley, Independent Party; India Larrier, incumbent committee member; and Bob Perez, Republican. The format for this evening is that each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to do their opening statement, and then they have been sent 4 questions for prepared answers. These were sent out by the League. And I will read those questions, and the candidates will respond. There will be an opportunity for a rebuttal, 1-minute rebuttal, on the if there, an issue comes up. Then we will take the audience questions, and we hope that you have a number of them. And the only thing I will say is that if questions are, you know, like 4 people are asking the same question, I will combine them into one question, okay? Just in the interest of not being repetitive. Once we have explored as many questions as the audience has, and we have some extras ourselves here, we will then ask the candidates to give their closing remarks. The candidates have chosen by lot who will be going first, second, third, and fourth, and they will go in reverse order of their opening speeches for the closing. So, beginning the evening is Mr. Kiley.
Excuse me, just 1 second. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but the microphones have a switch on them, and the switch is not turned on. So if anybody feels the need to use it, okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Kurt Kiley, and I am honored to be in front of everybody here today. I'm excited for to be running for the Township Committee. Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this. It's very important that the electorate get to see the opinions and the differences between the candidates. And I'm looking forward to November 4th, and I'm asking everybody for their vote. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. DeLuca.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring tonight's candidate night. I'm a member of the League myself, and happy that we are carrying out the long tradition of fostering civic involvement. And thanks to all of you, a small but spirited crowd, for coming out tonight. I ask for your vote on November 4th. I've had the opportunity to serve on the Maplewood Township Committee for 15 years, 9 of those as mayor. I'm running again to help keep Maplewood as a welcoming, safe, and vibrant community in which to live and raise a family. I believe over the years my efforts have contributed to making Maplewood a place of choice for those looking to buy a home, to open a business, or to visit and patronize our shops. I think Maplewood is in a great place right now, and it's even getting better. Home sales are skyrocketing. Homes for sale are on the market 19% less time than 1 year ago. They're going. Sale prices are 5% more than 2013, and the sale prices on average are slightly higher than list prices. Commercial vacancies in Maplewood Village, Irvington Avenue, Ridgewood Road, and Valley Street are virtually non-existent. We have more challenges on Springfield Avenue, but even there we have strong interest from developers and those hoping to open shops. Major crime is down 14% from this time a year ago, and we just hired 2 new police officers that will be on the street. We have a tremendous brand as a community, and we are open and inclusive and progressive. Our residents pitch in as volunteers to help keep our town moving forward. Elections are about the future and who you want to lead you. I offer you proven leadership and the ability to get real results. We have some challenges, but nothing that we together cannot overcome. I thank you for your past support and hope that I have earned your vote in November for another term on the Township Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perez.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for setting up this forum, and everybody who braved the weather to come out here and get involved. I also want to thank my fellow candidates for taking the time and effort to get involved, and so the sitting committee members for their hard work on behalf of us all. The reason I'm here is I think we need to have a change. Some of the committee people have been on for a lot of years, and I think when people are around in the same job too long, they tend to get a little stale and they lose perspective. I think I can bring some new perspective. And being a Republican, I'm probably fighting an uphill battle in this town. I've learned that not too many people in this town are going to vote Republican. So I started to think, why am I a Republican? And I decided that I'm going to blame my parents. My folks are immigrants. They came to this country in the early part of the 30s, just in time for the Great Depression. They spoke no English. They had no money. All they could do is work and put one hand next to the other. Somehow they paid their bills. They paid their taxes. They raised 3 kids. They never told us we were underprivileged, although I think they were the classic definition of underprivileged. In any event, I went on to have a career, raise my children. My children have followed the model my parents set for me. They got married, had children. Their children are being successful in school. I guess it's my parents' fault that I decided to be a Republican. And I hope I can bring a new insight to the committee in their deliberations going forward.
Thank you. Ms. Lawyer.
Thank you. Whoops. I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting us tonight. I have been here in Maplewood now since 1995. That's a long time. I have almost raised 3 children. I have 1 in college and 2 still at home, but when we got here we had none, and now we have 3. And we found Maplewood to be a very warm and inviting and diverse place, and we fell in love with it. And my husband John and I have been involved here almost since the beginning, and we believe that getting involved is the best way to effectively govern and keep a community the way you want to keep it. Having been here 20 years, I've seen a lot, but there's a lot to do. And I believe in my first term, I got a good start on it. We have crime that is down, but there are things that we need to continue to work on to keep this community safe. As the president of the Board of Health, we're a relatively healthy community. However, there are issues that we need to address in order to make sure that we remain that way. I also am asking for your vote. I have with the mayor and the rest of the township committee, accomplished a lot, and I would like to continue with the work together that we have started. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's begin with the prepared questions. The first one is about the citizen input and engagement. What is your approach to citizen input and engagement, and what, if any, changes would you make to harness volunteers and committees to make Maplewood governance more effective? How would you reach out to those citizens not yet engaged or represented? We'd like to start the responses on this with Mr. Dubuque.
Thank you. This is a critical area. I believe that we have to have residents involved. We have a formal process where we appoint residents to boards and committees, and there we're always looking to make sure that we're reaching pockets of our community that are not being represented, and primarily those are foreign-born and non-English speaking at home as a first language. So we're looking at that. If you look at my record of appointments, I've appointed more women and people of color to boards and committees than anyone before me, so I'm happy about that. There's also an informal process, and that is reaching out to the community when we're making proposals that are going to affect their life, or when they have an issue that they want to talk to. So those happen at living rooms, or around a dining room table, in a community room like this, or even we've been meeting at a local business on Chancellor Avenue to deal with some of the Jacoby Street areas. There, I think people want to have access to their elected officials. One of the things I said the other night, we were talking about Ferguson and the tragedy that happened there, and one of the lessons that I thought we need to learn is that anytime that any segment of the community feels that they're shut out, isolated, not part of civic life, that it is incumbent upon the government to reach out and bring them into that civic life, and that's something that we're going to continue to do. We've been doing, we need to do better going forward.
Thank you very much. Mr. Perez.
Well, Ferguson is, I think, an important issue. However, I would like to just point out that I don't believe that the citizens of Ferguson feel shut out. I believe that most of the people who are causing the issues and trauma there in that community are coming in from the outside. So that's something we should keep in mind. The pictures that are shown are not always what they appear to be. In order to attract people as a human resources executive, you reach out, you advertise, you network, you go to pastors in the community, you go to local organizations, and in that way you will reach people that normally you would never reach. The idea is that in every board that I have ever served on, and there have been a few, I've never volunteered. I've always been asked. And I've accepted the challenge simply because I thought it was a worthwhile cause and served accordingly.
Thank you. Ms. Larder.
Yes, thank you. Overall, we have a mechanism online to capture parties who are interested in volunteering. There is a volunteerism form on our website. Additionally, and as has happened in the past several times over the last 3 years, anyone who wants to volunteer can approach myself or actually any member of the township committee to put themselves forward to help get involved in our community. We have open public comment segments that help us to gather input, and I have seen legislation and ordinances written or changed based on that open public comment. To answer the second part of the question, civic engagement is something I learned growing up. It's very important. It's what keeps a community a community. I think one of the ways that we can reach people is to be involved in the events, have tables where they can approach us right when they're interested at that very moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kyler.
I think we always want to start with open. Can everybody hear me? Open and clear communication. We want to respect opinions. appreciate the efforts of everybody, and make sure that their efforts have impact. This is how you motivate people to become part of the process. I just organized a group of seniors to help discuss lifelong living in Maplewood. And the process I used was basically going out and reaching out to everybody that I knew, and then they reached out to everybody. I think that there's some areas that we want to look at. I would like to see a couple of the committees reinstated, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, so there's more public input on that. I would like to see the Transportation Advisory Committee reinstated, because I think there's more public input needed on that. And I think we should create a citizen advisory board that would consist of maybe 2 members from each of the voting districts, that it would be a more formal process, so kind of like the Democratic district leaders, that they could be part of the process as a group.
Thank you. Okay, the next question. What demographic changes in Maplewood are most significant in terms of government services, planning, and resources, both in the near and long term? What are your priorities in addressing these changes? This is a pretty hefty question. Mr. Perez, would you start us off?
Well, first of all, being a senior, I know that we're leaving. Friends of mine who have known for many, many years are leaving town in significant numbers, and that's affecting the texture of the town. We're losing that experience, those long roots and strong roots in the community, and that knowledge is leaving town, and then we're flipping that, and we're getting a young family in. I love my young neighbors, but they almost always come with children, and that puts pressure on the infrastructure of the town in terms of schools and youth activities and that sort of thing. An example of that would be the, I guess, $5 million that we're spending to enhance or enlarge the middle school. We need to get a better handle on seniors' needs, and we can do that by having open forums such as South Orange is happening. Our high school, I understand, is having some problems with their what they call an achievement gap. Seniors could be useful in remediating some of these students and getting them up to speed so that they're not having the problems that they're having. In fact, I'm thinking that they could receive some tax rebates on their efforts to do that so that they can better afford to stay in town. We might even reach out to Seton Hall University, have some graduate students do the same thing on an intern basis. So practical problems, practical solutions, there are people around who can help us do it.
Thank you. Ms. Larider.
Thank you. For our diverse community, already, whenever we hire into any department in our community, one of the main questions that we ask, in addition to their skill level, is what is their cultural competence? Now, obviously, we don't ask that question, but the questions we ask are meant to ferret that out, to make sure that whomever is hired, especially in our police department, they are culturally competent, they're able to handle our diverse community. As the president of the Board of Health, I, along with the health department, are coming up with health clinics that will reach out to our diverse population in their languages, in the places where they live in this community, so that we can meet their needs as well. Additionally, the development is meant to think about the seniors and that group that doesn't necessarily have the children, so they can stay here in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kiley?
There are 2 demographic changes that are trends that are happening right now, particularly in Maplewood. We attract families with children, and we have to be smart about how we accommodate that growth so that the schools are not overcrowded. Some of the schools are already overcrowded, and people are concerned with what's going to go on with the high school, so maybe we should coordinate better with the Board of Ed so that we can see what their needs are as well as our needs. The other demographic shift is the graying of New Jersey, which there's going to be increase in the number of people that are over 65 for the next 16 years, as well as the growth of millennials, which are staying. And their needs are very similar. They're looking for affordable housing, walkable downtowns, alternative forms of transportation. They want to shop local, they want to work local, and they're interested in arts and culture. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to benefit these two groups in Maplewood, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for change.
Thank you. Mr. DeLuca.
Yes, thank you. I would agree that certainly we want to make sure, again, that we're reaching pockets of our community which are not proficient in English. More of our literature that we're putting out from our town, library, Board of Health, we're doing also in English and Creole so that we can make sure that folks are participating. There's a couple other demographic shifts. First off, I think we should recognize that from 2000 to 2010, we lost one person in the census, which is very important because it shows that Maplewood is an attractive town that people want to stay in. Our housing stock, 70% of the housing stock is older than me, was built before 1950. That means we've got to make sure that we're continuing to invest, working with our residents to get them to invest to keep the housing stock up, because as it gets older, it gets more compromised. So we have a housing rehabilitation program in which we're working with folks of modest means to get their houses fixed up. The other thing is 30% of our commuters commute by mass transit. That means the jitney program is absolutely critical. And 7% of our workers work at home, so that means we have to have a program to help and support them.
Thank you. The next question. Budget constraints force members of the Township Committee to make hard decisions about maintaining and/or repairing our infrastructure, from roads, bridges, and municipal buildings on. Given the state-mandated cap on taxes, what would you identify as our most pressing infrastructure needs? How would you rate Maplewood's relative success in meeting them over the past few years? And what, if any, changes would you advocate? And this question begins with Ms. Larry.
Yes, thank you. First, with regard to the cap, I would point out that for the last 3 years, we have managed to come in at or below that cap. With regard to our infrastructure, I believe that we have been successful and we continue to work on ways to maintain that infrastructure. We work with our DPW department to constantly inspect and on a rotational basis make sure that those things are taken care of. We recently passed a resolution, an ordinance that said that with regard to our roads, if we go through and pave our roads and a utility comes in and tears it up to do something, they have to fix it, because very often they come in and they just patch it and it's not good. So we come up with different ways, we have come up with different ways and are continuing to look at ways to make sure that our infrastructure is strong. We are committed to, I am committed to the cap, however, not at the expense of the infrastructure, because keeping up your community, keeping up what makes it the brick and mortar part, keeps it safe, keeps the impression that it's a good place to live, and that keeps our community strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kyler.
I agree with Ms. Larrier, and we need to keep our plant and infrastructure maintained. It's very important to the quality of life of our citizens. I think the biggest unknown is the sewer. This came up during the redevelopment of the post office at the sewer. The quality of the sewer system is questionable, so we should find out what that is, what the life expectancy of it is, and what it's going to cost us over the long haul. The shade tree, parks, municipal buildings are satisfactory, and I think we can improve on that. People that have lived here a long time have said that there was a lot better maintenance of these areas, and that they really impact the quality of life. I think that we could do better on some of these things if we started insourcing them. We outsource a lot of this stuff, and when we outsource it, somebody's able to do the same job that we could have done, and they're making a profit on it. So things like maybe some of the paving on the roads, we could start to look to insource that and do it ourselves. A lot of the maintenance of the trees have been outsourced. I think we should start trying to insource that so we can cut our costs and increase the quality of service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. DeLuca.
Yeah, I think we have agreement here. You know, roads are very important. We're about to, maybe in a week, start repaving the first portion of Springfield Avenue that has to be done. It's been done a while back. We're doing roads. We have a 15-year road plan, which we're following, doing roads around town based on a criteria that the engineer's office used about the amount of traffic and the condition of the roads. Our library, we've been putting money into the library. We put an elevator in there. We put new windows in the main library. We're going to be putting some windows in the Hilton branch. Absolutely critical to keep the library. We're going to actually start a visioning process there to talk about what we want for the library in the future and to integrate the library into the park there. Bergdorf Center in Woodland. We have 3 facilities, Bergdorf, Woodland, and 1978. Very important that we continue to push our arts programs and our arts facilities. We've been putting money in. We're about to air condition a portion of the Bergdorf to make it a 12-month facility. And we fixed up Woodland. If anybody has been in Woodland, I was there Friday night for a concert. It's a terrific building. It has a lot more work to do, but right now it's just, we've captured the beauty of that building and going forward.
Thank you. All right, the final prepared question. What are your priorities for development?
Mr. Perez did not answer.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, actually, you can call me Bob. Maintenance is important, and it's been an issue that has been in the forefront here for a while. Some of the projects that Vic mentioned were projects that I pointed out to him in a campaign a few years ago, and it was apparent to me at the time that maintenance was being deferred until it became an emergency, and then we had a big bill on our heads. The Maplewood Pool is a perfect example of that. The Maplewood Pool was actually designed and built by private money. There was not a tax penny spent on that. About the year 2000, the Township Committee decided to start taking the surpluses out of the pool to balance the township budget. The bottom line is the pool fell into disrepair, and they had to spend $1.3 million to get it up to speed again, and are charging the pool members so that they have to pay for it in their fees. Already paid for it once, they're paying for it again.
What's the rule on rebuttals?
1 minute.
Yeah, let's talk about the pool.
Well, you can't yet.
I can't yet?
No.
Okay. Let's just go on.
Would you like to rebut?
No.
Of course, if he does, I want to too.
Let's save that for the next segment. How's that? Thanks. What are your priorities for development and or redevelopment projects within Maplewood, taking into consideration financing, historic preservation, and environmental concerns? What are your views on pursuing a transit village designation? And this question begins with Mr. Coward.
So my number 1 priority is serve the existing public. So we need to focus on bringing in goods and services that our existing citizens need. Next, maintain the charm and character of our town, and that goes along with historic preservation and maintaining things like our shade trees. That's very important. It's been proven that historic preservation and maintaining things like our trees will improve property values and increase the quality of life of our citizens. Environmental, there's 2 ways to look at it. I want to look at it by decreasing the number of trips people need to make outside of Maplewood. So if people can shop locally for the things that they need, they don't need to travel out. That hurts the environment. More trips out also consumes a lot of time, which that's the biggest cost. I would like to see Maplewood become 100% walkable, all on Springfield Avenue. I know Vic and I disagree on that, but I think that's something we really want to accomplish, turning Springfield Avenue into walkable downtown. Transit Village, Maplewood checks off almost all the boxes to become a transit village. That might be something that we want to look into, but let's boil it down and find out what the concept is. Transit Village is making sure that you don't have to travel outside of your local community. And I think that's something that we want to do in all of Maplewood. So instead of just in that half-mile radius, let's take a look at how we can do that for all of Maplewood.
Thank you, Mr. DeLuca.
Yes, thank you. First off, Mr. Kiley keeps misrepresenting my position on Springfield Avenue. If he understood what we have there, we have almost 2 miles of a commercial strip there. Most of it is designated as highway business zone. I led the charge to make a pedestrian retail zone from Oberlin Street to Park so that we could attract a small-scale walkable. That's the area. There's 2 nodes. One is around Prospect and Springfield, and one is over at Burnett and Springfield. And that's been the plan that we've been following, and that's how it works, and that's what we've been doing. We have 4 redevelopment areas in town, 2 rehabilitation areas. I think helping the people of Maplewood and getting those projects built, paying taxes. Under my watch, we've added 2 of the top 10 taxpayers in town, the Station House and the Walgreens. That's what helps people who live here and also provides them an opportunity to shop. It also provides them a place to live for downsizers and the young professionals that we all believe are going to be moving into this urban inner first suburb area here. I'm not in favor of transit-oriented development, transit-oriented village, because I think this threshold to reach that is a much higher number of houses that we have to build than we want to.
Mr. Perez.
Transit village is, I guess, a lofty goal, and it's a nice thing to have. However, my concern is that the texture of the town and the ambience of this town is going to suffer potentially a little bit. 50 apartments in the middle of town is not the best idea in my mind. I think it has high risks associated with it. You know, the plaques are going to oxidize, the grant monies that are given are going to be spent, and we're going to be stuck with the problem in the long run. What we really need for Springfield Avenue and all of these other areas is a professional marketing plan. We spent $10 million on Springfield Avenue, and from my knowledge, we don't have a professional out there putting together a plan that will knock the socks off of potential businesses that would want to come to town. I don't know if we have any kind of information about what are the needs and requirements of these businesses so we can attract them and get some real traffic-producing businesses on Springfield Avenue. Springfield Avenue is not doing as well as the mayor would have you believe.
Thank you, Ms. Laurier.
Thank you. Any development that takes place in Maplewood has to do certain things. They have to benefit the residents that live here. They have to create some tax revenue, and they have to make Maplewood a more attractive living destination. The redevelopment that we're doing now, I believe, does this. The woodland that we purchased is a perfect example of a piece of Maplewood history that we're bringing new life to. That locally designated piece of property now contributes to the viability and charm of Maplewood. As far as Transit Village, Maplewood is not a transit village just because we are putting some apartments next to a train station. Yes, we have a train station. Yes, we have commuters. Yes, we have apartments there. But what makes it a transit village is not what Maplewood is. Maplewood is a very charming, walkable township. And I believe that's where the development needs to go, and that's where it's going under our watch. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to stop for just a second so we can collect questions from the audience. If you have questions, please provide them. We'll give our candidates a moment to have a sip of water.
Thank you. Oh, I do. I need more thanks. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
This won't be the only time that we'll ask for questions. There's some additional ones in a couple minutes.
No, why did I?
Does anybody have a phone right now?
Is it up now there?
start with one that seems to be coming in from a couple of people. And it's regarding parking in Maplewood Village as being an issue. And how would you propose improving the parking so that people will be able to stop, shop, and visit the village? And let's start that with Mr. Jaluka.
Thank you. Just to remind everyone that the first thing we did was purchasing the Women's Club. We put over 50 parking spaces in the public domain. We have control of them. We're using most of those for 2-hour shopping parking. We're in the process now of merging the Highland lot and the Women's Club lot. That's going to create an additional 8 spaces in that new configuration and also vastly improve the circulation there for folks looking for parking. The other thing is we selected a developer last night for the post office project, in which we will have parking both underneath the building and in the back on a surface lot that will create some additional parking for Maplewood Village.
Thank you. Let's see, Mr. Perez.
Did you say Perez?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I would agree with that which has been said, although I think we came by the Women's Club by a left-handed method. They were basically thrown out of their club by virtue of bringing legal action against them to remove their tax-exempt status, which I think was a wrong move. Having said that, the town now has spent, I guess, $1.1 million to buy it. It's going to spend a whole bunch more money to try to fix it and keep it up to date. And for that, we're going to get 50 parking spots. I think financially that's a bad deal. We need the parking spots, but we don't need to carry that much debt, and the debt that we're going to have to pay to maintain that place. And if we think we can run a venue for folks to have events and do that in any kind of a successful manner, I have some questions about that as well.
Larry.
Yes, I too would agree with the mayor's assessment of what we've done to improve the parking. I would disagree with Mr. Perez regarding the cost and the value of the Women's Club. I believe that it certainly was worth the additional parking, especially because it's not just the additional parking that we get. We get that gem of a building, we get the additional arts programming that we can get from that building. We get the additional traffic that we get as a result of that programming. So I would have to disagree with Mr. Perez. But as far as the parking, yes, we did select a developer who did increase some of the parking. We do have the parking from the Maplewood Village, the Women's Club. Additionally, we have changed some of the timing for the parking to help the situation as well, as far as 2-hour, 1 hour, etc. Thank you.
Mr. Coward.
So it's going to be difficult to speak about the parking at the new post office development because that was just released, that information was just released, so I'm going to speak as well as I can on it. My understanding is that the new parking under the building is going to be private parking, so that's not going to be available to the public. And there's going to be 20 spaces behind the building, and they were supposed to maintain the existing 23, so I don't think we're getting any new public parking out of that. And it could be different. The mayor can inform us differently. Also, I've seen concept drawings for a parking deck in Highland Place. So there's a couple questions about where is that money going to come from to pay for that. I'm not saying we don't need it, but if we're going to pay for it, we should start considering paid parking I hate parking meters, but paid parking actually makes the best use of parking spaces and allocates the funds from the parking meters to pay for the parking deck. And I think that would be the most fair way to apply that to our taxpayers.
Thank you. This next question, what strategies would you use to improve Irvington Avenue? Sid, joint grants, committees with South Orange and Newark? Those are all possibilities. And Mr. Perez, would you start this?
Yeah. Improving Irvington Avenue could be quite a challenge. I walk through there pretty regularly, and I'm not sure if they're owner-occupied or renter-occupied, but most of those houses need to take care of their lawns, their driveways, their upkeep, their painting, their everything. I think we have regulations in town already which require people to maintain their properties in a reasonable condition, and I think I would start there. I don't think the governing body can put itself in a position of trying to renovate, properties for people, and if they do, we just have to charge them for it. As a retired person, I have to squeeze it, but I paint my house, I take care of my lawn, and I do all the things. That's a responsibility of a citizen. It shouldn't be the responsibility of government.
Ms. Lowry.
Yes, there's two things about, excuse me, Irvington Avenue. Regarding upkeep of your property, if indeed, Mr. Perez, you cannot keep up your property, we do have COA funds that can help you if your finances are an issue, and that can be made available. What is more concerning to me is the business district, the Irvington businesses, the Irvington Avenue Business District. I think we need to look at that. We need to look at revitalizing that area, keeping it safe, working with the police to keep that section of town safe, so that those businesses can thrive. And if we can make that area thrive and be more welcoming, then those businesses will do better, and thereby that section of town, Irvington Avenue, will improve. Thank you.
Mr. Cowden.
So public safety in our commercial areas is very important. And I think we need to continue focusing on Springfield Avenue and improving that. The township obviously has limited resources, so there's only so many things that we can do at once. It would be nice to say that we could do everything, that we could really focus on Irvington Avenue and then we could focus on Springfield Avenue, but like I'm saying, we have limited resources. We should be focusing on getting Springfield Avenue up and running. That's not saying that we need to neglect Irvington Avenue, but if we have a focus and drive, we can really get Springfield Avenue to move beyond having a good soul to having good substance.
Mr. Jabuka.
Well, I couldn't disagree more with Mr. Kiley that we should write off any part of our community. Irvington Avenue is an important part. There are people that are residents, our neighbors that live there, that work there, that shop there. And to say that we're going to just write it off to favor another area doesn't make any sense to me. Here's what we've done. We've gone out and got $95,000 grant to work with Rutgers and South Orange and Maplewood and Irvington in a project where we've done a study. We're about to work on rebranding Irvington Avenue. It's a county road. We're going to be working with the county to bring in some money to do some hard work on the sidewalks, the lighting, and the improvements there. There is a real core there of merchants. So, as I said earlier, there's no vacancies there. There's a great group of ethnic stores there, really strong stores. We're going to work with them, and we're going to work in conjunction, as I said, with Irvington, with South Orange to get that whole strip working. I think it's incumbent upon us to put the resources there that are going to bring that area back.
Thank you. Well, here's a question about Springfield Avenue. Why is it problematic, and what is the plan for long-term vacancies like Bank of America? Ms. Larry, would you start this, please?
Sure. Well, I think part of Bank of America's issue is that it's an odd building with very little parking, so it's difficult to know what to put into that building. I know personally of someone who was interested in renting there, and he just was unable to make the building work. I believe that what we have been doing with Springfield Avenue, looking for the right developers, looking for the right development, Walgreens, the parking that we've done for the merchants, I believe that is what will help Springfield Avenue. We have started with that. We're working on it constantly, and we'll continue to work on it as we go into our next term. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kiley.
So I believe, and I'm constantly believing in small businesses, and I think that if we provide incentives to small businesses to use these spaces, that we can grow them into bigger businesses. There was a program that I saw in Columbus, Ohio called Win This Space. So businesses presented their business plan, they were vetted, the community voted on the best business. We could even incorporate like a Kickstarter where people could kick money into the business, and if you won the business, if you won the space, you would get the space for free of rent for like a year, and then half rent for another year. And you would have all the support from the Chamber of Commerce and SCORE to make sure that you were a successful business. After 2 years, we could have a running business in there rather than an empty building. And I think also when we have empty storefronts, there's also the opportunity to put the arts in there. Some organizations do that.
Mr. Perez.
The Springfield Avenue area is an area that was recently upgraded, and it's beautiful. We spent about $10 million to do that. I would have thought if I had invested $10 million in something that I'd maybe invest 1% of that, say $100,000 a year, with a professional marketing effort that would bring a strategic, persistent look at what we're going to do with those spaces and how we could get that done. And that includes putting together a dog and pony show. This is what companies do, sell the town. We have the inclusiveness, we have the greenness, we have a lot of disposable income in and around this town, and that's what we should be selling. If it's a bank space that we're having a problem with, there might be banks out there that might be interested. I think when I came to town, that was a small bank. Maplewood Bank and Trust, I think, was at that location. And then it turned over a few times. But we definitely need to bring a professional, persistent effort to bear to get all of these things done in a strategic, long-term fashion.
Thank you. And the next question is always a hot topic.
I didn't answer.
I'm sorry, Chair, we're sorry, Mr. Chaluka.
First off, we're not going to get a bank to go into Bank of America. It's an outdated building. It's too small. The drive-through is too limited. We are working to kind of get bank into the old Santander that just left. That's a much better building. It has identified parking. It has 2 lanes for your drive-through. I think it's a much more attractive building. The Bank of America is not going to be a bank. We are working to try to get other things. We talked to UPS stores, those kinds of places which would work there. A restaurant is a little bit dicey. It's not going to work. But I want to talk about some big things that we're using to anchor the avenue. It's no question that as you go east, there's less to do, there's less vibrancy in the avenue. That's why the project we're doing at the PSE&G site is so very important. 235 apartments to bring people to the avenue who therefore will shop. We're also talking to a major retailer to go across the street to about an acre of land, and that will really anchor the eastern end, and we're talking with someone who's buying the Maplewood Diner and going to bring that back to life.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, on to the next question, which, what would you do specifically to reduce taxes in Maplewood? Topic, and Mr. Kyler, would you begin, please? what would you do specifically to reduce taxes in Maplewood?
Didn't everybody get their bag of money in their trunk? Taxes, unfortunately, the probability of it going down long-term are very slim, but we need to stabilize it. And the reason why our taxes are high is because we have an unfavorable ratio of commercial versus residential tax rateables. We don't have a large shopping mall like Milburn or the Short Hills Mall to absorb our taxes. So if we have any chance of stabilizing that, we really need to focus on maintaining our commercial rateables and not turning them from commercial into residential. Right? That's unfortunately what we're doing with the PSE&G development. If it was mixed use, it would probably be a little bit better rather than just all apartments. If we could have retail, office, and some apartments to go with that, we would be in a better shape, but we really need to maintain our commercial rateables and try to expand on that.
Thank you. Mr. DeLuca.
Yeah, part of this job is being honest. I mean, taxes, the Township Committee is not going to roll back taxes. But what we are, and what I've been doing as a board member of the New Jersey Conference of Mayors, is trying to look at ways in which we can get some state money to pay for the education program. That's where 57 cents of every one of our dollar goes to the schools. No one's saying that the schools don't need it, but we do need a different form of taxation. So I think what we need, it's incumbent upon us as elected officials locally to advocate at the state level to have some changes in the school funding. If they were to fund the school program the way they're supposed to, we would get 10% more in school funding than we get right now. Let me just mention one other thing about the shifting of property and all this making residential. You build multifamily housing, it's not considered residential, it's a commercial, it's a different class of residential. Let's just talk about the station house. That was a non-tax paying, it was owned by the town. Right now that building's assessed at $7.2 million. It brings $256,000 a year in taxes in. That's tax money that you all don't have to pay because we have them paying it.
Mr. Perez.
The commercial versus residential problem is an issue that we're not going to resolve easily in this town. But one of the things we have to worry about is the trajectory of spending. Recently, in the last couple of years, they've been capped at around 2%. They've gone over a few times, although Vic says that they've actually been flat a couple of years. The thing is that the money that we don't have, we're spending, and we're doing that consistently. No sane person borrows or mortgages their own home in order to give the proceeds to any wonderful venture or charity. We need to figure out how to drop the trajectory of our spending so that we can start paying down some of our debt, so then we can think down the road about cutting spending. At the same time, I understand we have to be careful about not dropping the ball on important issues like infrastructure maintenance and those sorts of things. But we could do a better job of that if we stayed on top of it and did it on a regular basis so that we didn't have to work on an emergency basis.
Thank you. Ms. Larrier.
Thank you. One thing I'd like to point out is that generally, at least the last 3 years that I've been on the Township Committee, we have retired more debt than we have spent. We have spent, yes, we've had to. We are trying to govern a township. However, we have made sure that we spend at a lower rate than we retire debt. What would I do? What would I suggest you do specifically to lower your taxes? Write your assemblymen, write your state senators, because that's, as the mayor said, that's what's going to lower your taxes. At best, what we can do is spend wisely if we have to spend. Make sure we keep up the infrastructure so that we don't have to spend wildly when we do. Make sure that any development that we do, we negotiate carefully, which we have done. And by the way, the post office is going to also, that development will also bring in money where it has not in the past. Thank you.
Okay, this next question is addressed to Mr. DeLuca, and the other candidates would have a chance to comment. Mayor DeLuca, what are your thoughts on pilots? How many new developments have gotten a pilot?
So a pilot is payment in lieu of taxes, and we have given out two. Actually, I'm sorry, we've given out one, and that is for the building next door. It's a 30-year tax abatement. The building next door, I'm sorry, is the Maplewood Crossing. It's over there, not over here. It's the field and the building. So it's Maplewood Crossing, and we've given out one pilot for 30 years, and they pay a percentage of the construction costs. We're also considering a pilot for the PSE&G building. Now, both of those areas are were heavily contaminated and are not income-producing properties of any great amount. So this is a way to do that. We're considering a 5-year pilot, which is a little different for the post office site, which is a 0, 20%, 40%, 60, 80, and 100%. It's a little different kind of pilot than the others, which is based on a 2% increase. The others a 20% increase. And just on the debt, in 2004, the net debt was $35 million. In 2013, the net debt is $31 million.
Thank you. This actually is a question for all of you on how much debt is Maplewood carrying and what does it cost us to carry our debt? Mr. Perez, would you start that, please?
Well, the last time I looked at the numbers, I believe our debt was costing us about 13% of our expenditures, which is higher than it would be. My thought on this subject is very simple. When this administration came into power 15 years ago to the present time, my taxes have doubled. So that's simple arithmetic for me. Next month, I'm going to have to reach in my pocket and write a check for $4,000 out of my retirement accounts to cover the taxes. The other seniors in town are having similar problems, and that's why they're leaving. Perhaps the people over on Irvington Avenue are having similar problems, and that's probably the way they can't afford to maintain their properties. We have to find a way to control this thing that's eating up people.
Thank you. Ms. Laurier.
Well, I think the mayor did mention how much debt we have. My views on it is that we need to make sure that we are diligent to spend it down as best we can. I would venture to guess that most everything you paid for 15 years ago costs more now. So whether it's doubled, whether it's tripled, whether it's only gone up by maybe 25%, I don't know. But that is not a reason not to do what is necessary to keep up the township and to make sure that it remains the township that it should be, so that the cost of your house doesn't go down as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kyler.
So it was very interesting if everybody got their little thing in the mail that came along with their latest tax statement. It showed you that paying down the debt is like our second highest cost, second only to paying to the police, our police force. I think there are areas where we should be trying to pay as we go rather than putting it out there as a long-term debt. There are some things that I find interesting that we capitalize, particularly salaries in the engineering department. I don't think that we should be capitalizing that unless we can have specific projects that we can associate with that, and the number just seems to be fairly flat. And there's some other things in there that I think that we should just pay as we go rather than capitalizing.
Thank you. Mr. DeLuca?
Yes, there's no question that the debt takes over 10% of our annual budget. Our annual budget's a little lower, a little less than $40 million a year. We're paying about $3.4 million on the principal of debt and about 1.6 on interest. And one of the things that we have done as a policy is that each year when we create our capital budget, we go up to 20%, or I'm sorry, 80% of the year's debt relief. So whatever we're retiring as debt, we only go up 80%. So we're reducing, you know, as best we can every year. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about taking on debt? We talk about buying fire trucks. We talk about fixing up the roads. We talk about the library improvements. We just bought a street sweeper. We just bought a jitney. These are all things that we talked about a couple of questions ago about how we're keeping the infrastructure of town. But we are working to try to reduce the debt. We have a plan in place.
Thank you. I just want to briefly go back to the question that Mr. DeLuca answered about pilots. Did anybody have additional comment that they wanted to make?
Pilots are a necessary evil. Having been on the other side of the equation, opening factories and plants in other states and other locations, I can tell you that almost every private business is going to look for those kinds of breaks in order to get started and to mitigate some of their startup costs. I'm assuming that the big pilot that you mentioned, Mr. DeLuca, is one that's going to be coming down over time, over the 30 years, as opposed to being a flat amount over the 30 years. Correct. So we hope when you do something like that, that the people that you're bringing in are going to spend money, create commercial activity, and give it back to you in other ways.
Does anyone else have a comment they want to make? Yes.
I think we need to be judicious when we're applying pilots and use them specifically for things that we want to do. Maybe we want to improve the walkability of Irvington Avenue or Springfield Avenue, rather than just using it to build apartment buildings. Let's try to get mixed-use retail office space. I'm also concerned that there is a remediation issue at the PSE&G site that the township has decided to take over. Why did PSE&G leave the site in a state that it needed to be repaired, or not repaired, or contaminated? Yeah, I think that's about that's it.
Now I do have a question about rebuttal.
Yes, sir.
Because Ms. Larry may want to answer something, but I don't know.
Thank you. As Mayor DeLuca will tell you, I am generally against pilots. I don't like them. I don't like giving them out. However, since I've been here and we've had to discuss two of them, as a result of the circumstances, even as Mr. Perez suggested, they became necessary evils. However, when Mr. Kiley says they need to be given out judiciously, he mentions specifically mixed-use residential retail. And I would point out that the pilots that we have suggested that we might need to implement are for mixed-use residential retail. Thank you.
Yes.
So can I rebut?
Yes, sir.
And how much time do I have?
1 minute.
Okay. So let's talk about pilots real specifically. Walgreens was built without a pilot. CVS is being built without a pilot. Other places, there's improvements being made without a pilot. Pilots are being used very judiciously in town. You can only use pilots in a redevelopment or rehabilitation area. You can't just use it anywhere in town. In addition to the pilots, we work out deals with these developers that they have to give back something to the community. On the pilot we gave next door to Maplewood Crossing, they're making a $114,000 contribution to fix up this building. On the pilot we're discussing with PSE&G, they're widening the road there so we have a better left turn. They're going to give us a contribution to fix up the island in front of the police station, and they're going to give us a $100,000 contribution to fix up the pool. So these are ways that we can work with them. They're looking, as Bob said, they're looking for predictability. That's one of the most important things when they're going out for financing. They want to know that the taxes are going to be stable over a period of time so they can build up equity. And that's what we're working on. I'm not for corporate welfare. Never thought I would do pilots, but they are a necessary evil in very, very limited circumstances.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Because there's one that's an ideal wrap-up question here. Okay, then I will ask that question. Where do you see Maplewood 5 years from now? And let's start that with Ms. Larrier.
Thank you. 5 years from now, I see a thriving Springfield Avenue business district with mixed-use residential retail where PSE&G was. I see a thriving Maplewood Avenue business district with no post office and a new building with mixed use. I see an Irvington Avenue that is revitalized. I see neighborhoods and neighborhood associations that are revitalized, largely due to the Maplewood Community Action Program. I see neighbors involved in this township. I think it will look a lot like it does now, but improved. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kiley.
I agree with Ms. Larrier and everything that she said there. I see a revitalized Springfield Avenue. We might have different ways of getting there, but I'd like to see that. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than 5 years. I'm not going to lie to anybody about that. It's taken 8 to 10 years to get where it is now. It's going to take that amount of time to get that much more forward. I see the Women's Club becoming a vibrant part of the town once again. I think it's going to enhance everything from education to arts and community. And I do see that the town becoming more active with local politics and getting involved with the decision-making in Maplewood.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeLuca.
When you sit in this seat as an elected official and you walk the streets talking to people trying to get reelected, you realize the resiliency of our community, the vibrancy, the strength, but you also realize that we have some challenges. And I think the most important thing that we can say 5 years out is all the things we've been talking about here, the metrics and the indicators, but the most important thing to me is that we stay as one community. I've seen too many communities that split up along race, along class, along perceptions, and I think it's absolutely critical that we spend the next 5 years doing the things that are going to bring people together, to bring people involved into civic life, into the community, into all these challenges, all these things we're talking about. We need people to be involved. And that, to me, is the most important thing. And if we can achieve that, then in 5 years from now, we'll have nothing that will stop us going forward.
Mr. Perez.
I agree with what was said. I think integrating everybody, regardless of race, size, or color, getting everybody speaking together, solving the same problems, being part of the same community is a surefire way to get successful in this town.
Okay, thank you. Before the candidates have their closing remarks, I just think it'd be incumbent upon us to give them a huge round of applause. I'm astounded in doing moderating for local candidates and the amount of time that you all spend, the amount of volunteer hours that are put in is something that all of us should seek to admire and certainly to support. And please, I echo the words earlier on, call a friend, call a couple of friends, make sure they come out to vote, because that is your gift as an American citizen, and we shouldn't waste it, and these wonderful people do not waste anyone's time, that's for sure. In fact, their time is often taken up in ways that none of us would have the time or the patience to do. So I truly admire you and thank you very much. And with that, the closing remarks are in reverse order of opening remarks, and we begin with India Dario.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, and I applaud the candidates. Thank you for coming and being part of this process. I've been on the Township Committee now for 3 years. I've been able to start some things that I would like to complete. I look forward to seeing the end of the development of the post office and the Women's Club and PSE&G. I look forward to seeing in 3 years what happens with our new, possibly new trap, neuter, and release program and the strides we'll make regarding our feral cat issues. I look forward to seeing the seniors in our township get reached and be able to be part, wherever they live and whatever their backgrounds, be able to be part of our community. I ask for your vote so I can continue these things. I believe that the Township Committee, Mayor DeLuca, and I have been very diligent in using your tax dollars to your benefit, and I look forward to being able to do it in the future. So once again, I do ask for your vote, and also as we heard from our host right from the start, don't just say we're going to vote, make a plan, and bring a friend. Thank you.
I also want to thank the League for putting on this event, and my fellow candidates for participating here with me tonight. I believe my background is unique. I've been in private business my entire life. I had to come up the hard way. I've worked with Fortune corporations, startup companies, and very, very, very high-tech companies where most of the people I dealt with were PhDs. So I've learned to use my skills, or learn skills, that help me put people in the proper place, get teams motivated to maybe come up with results that they wouldn't have come up with except that we decided to brainstorm together and give them the credit for what they did. I think I can bring a perspective to the Township Committee that's been missing for a little bit of time now, because they seem to vote together like 90–95% of the time. So maybe there isn't that element of discussion that might avoid some of the pitfalls and unintended consequences that have cost us to waste time and money in the past. I congratulate them for working hard and doing all that kind of stuff, but we need to find a way to avoid the problems that we've had in the past so we can get to where we are, and we're not in a bad place, but perhaps get there more efficiently and at less cost. In addition, I would like to point out to you that there's another Republican running out there that I would recommend to you. His name is Jeff Bell. The man he's running against left Newark in a condition that was a travesty when it comes to its finances. The schools are in disarray, and crime and murder are through the roof. We need someone to represent us better than that. Thank you.
Victor DeLuca.
Thank you very much for coming out. Thank you to the League for having tonight's debate. And I'm going to ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 4th. My plan is to come here around 7, or maybe before 7, and vote over there at District 9 right against the wall over there, and I'll be the challenger the whole day. So that's how I spend my day. That's my plan, and I'm going to stick to it. I've been the mayor through 2 revaluations. I was the mayor for September 11, 2011, when we lost the 2001, we lost the World Trade Center. I was the mayor when Sandy came and devastated our community. I hope that I have made you proud for my leadership. I hope that I have earned your support. I said last time that I still have fire in the belly to do this job. I think it's important. I commit to my wife to being a good husband, but that's first. But I also want to commit to being a good elected official. I think it's absolutely critical. I reject the notion and the cynicism about government. I think government is good. Government is a force for change, positive change. I think we do that here. I think government is a way for folks to be involved, that care, people who care about their community. It's a vehicle for them to get involved and make a difference. So I actually feel privileged to have been in this position for a while, to have worked with a lot of people across this town, to have accomplished, I think, a lot. And I am someone who gets things done, and I will hopefully be re-elected on November 4th and continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kurt Kiley.
Thank you, everybody. I'd like to also thank the League of Women Voters, as well as fellow candidates, and I'd like to thank Vic DeLuca and India Laria for their hard work for the town. On November 4th, I ask everybody for their vote. I'm looking forward to working with Vic or India or Bob, whoever happens to be the other successful candidate, and helping move Maplewood forward. I have a unique background as a small business owner. I know how tough it is to go out and get new business, retain business. I've been doing that for 25 years, and I work with companies of all sizes, and I work to bring people together to solve problems, and I hope to bring those type of skills to Maplewood. I'm very passionate about this town. Like Vic, I'm out there campaigning, getting to know everybody. I did that last year as well. Walked many, many miles, talked to many, many people, shook many hands. And again, this is a fantastic town. I said it the last time, it's one of the best growing experiences. If you want to get to know Maplewood, run for the Township Committee. That is the best way, and that's the best way to make friends and get to know people. And hopefully I'll be elected so I can actually get a lot more things done. So thanks once again. On November 4th, I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. If all of you would like to, we have a few minutes left to just informally talk with the candidates, I think that would be great. And thank you all very much.